absolutely knew. The rejection was going to happen, which meant whoever stood beneath that hood knew something before everyone else. Something impossible. Something dangerous. The evening wind swept through the village. Elara slowly looked toward the distant forest, toward the watchtower, toward the place where all the answers seemed to begin. And one question now drowned out every other thought. Who said that? The feeling started before Elara saw anything. A sensation. Small. Uncomfortable. Like eyes pressing against the back of her neck. She slowed her pace. The village road stretched ahead. Empty. Quiet. Ordinary. Yet the feeling remained. Someone was watching her. Elara continued walking. Not too fast. Not too slow. Trying not to reveal she'd noticed. A merchant closed a shop across the street. 2 children chased each other past a fountain. Nothing unusual. Then she caught it. Movement. Quick. A shadow slipping behind a building. Gone almost immediately. Elara's pulse quickened. There. Someone was there. She stopped walking. The village continued around her. Normal. Busy. Unaware. But Elara remained still. Waiting. Watching. 10 seconds passed. Then she saw it again. The same figure. A glimpse of dark clothing disappearing around a corner. This time she moved. Fast. Her boots struck the stone road. 1 step. 2. 3. The figure disappeared into a narrow alley. Elara rounded the corner immediately. Empty. Her heart sank. Then, movement ahead. The shadow emerged at the opposite end of the alley. Running. Definitely running. Hey! The figure didn't stop. Didn't even look back. Elara sprinted after them. The chase exploded through the village. Past market stalls. Around buildings. Across narrow streets. The shadow remained just ahead. Always visible. Never close enough. Almost as though they wanted her to follow. The realization unsettled her. Why not simply hide? Why keep letting her see them? A turn. Another turn. Another. The village began thinning. Buildings gave way to forest paths. Trees replaced stone walls. The chase continued. Elara's breathing grew heavier. The shadow remained frustratingly out of reach. Then suddenly, it vanished. Completely. Elara stopped. Spinning in a circle. Searching. Nothing. The forest stood silent around her. Branches swayed overhead. Leaves rustled. But the figure was gone. Again. Damn it. She listened carefully. No footsteps. No breathing. No movement. The stranger had disappeared, as if swallowed by the forest itself. Elara slowly walked forward, examining the ground, looking for tracks, looking for anything. Then she noticed something caught on a low branch. A piece of cloth. Dark gray. Torn. Fresh. The fabric fluttered gently in the breeze. Elara immediately pulled it free. The material felt expensive. Well made. Not something an ordinary villager would wear. She turned it over, examining every detail, then froze. Near one edge was a small embroidered symbol. A silver thread sewn into the fabric. A symbol she recognized, or thought she recognized. A crescent moon. The same symbol engraved on the silver knife. Elara's pulse thundered. No. She stared at the torn cloth. The knife. The watchtower. Now this. The same symbol. The same crescent moon. The connections were becoming impossible to ignore. A branch snapped somewhere behind her. Elara spun around. Knife already in hand. Nothing. Only trees. Only shadows. Only silence. Yet she knew. Absolutely knew. Whoever had been following her wasn't far away. They had watched her. Led her. Then disappeared. Leaving only this behind. The question was whether it had been an accident. Or a message. Elara looked down at the torn piece of clothing again. The crescent moon's symbol gleamed faintly in the fading sunlight. Somewhere in her missing memories, she knew it meant something. Something important. Something dangerous. And as the wind whispered through the trees, a single question settled into her mind. Who was following her? Vanessa knew something had changed. She felt it. The questions. The looks. The whispers that stopped whenever she entered a room. For 2 days after the rejection, everything had gone exactly as planned. Then suddenly, people started paying attention. And that was dangerous. Very dangerous. The dining hall was unusually quiet. Several council members sat together discussing patrol routes. Others spoke about village repairs. Normal conversations. Safe conversations. The kind Vanessa preferred. She entered carrying a tray of food. Immediately, several voices lowered. Not enough to be obvious. Enough for her to notice. Vanessa continued walking, smiling, listening, watching. A pair of warriors sat near the far wall. One leaned closer to the other. I heard Elara was seen near the watchtower. Vanessa's grip tightened around the tray. Only slightly. The second warrior frowned. The old watchtower? That's what Thomas said. Vanessa continued walking, pretending not to hear. But every word landed like a warning bell. Thomas. The old servant. That could become a problem. An hour later, Vanessa found him. Thomas sat alone beneath a large oak tree, enjoying the afternoon sun. The elderly servant smiled when he saw her. Lady Vanessa. Vanessa returned the smile.
Warm.
Friendly.
Perfect.
Thomas. The old man gestured toward the empty seat beside him. Come sit. Vanessa did. For several moments they spoke casually. The weather. The village. The festival. Normal things. Then Vanessa carefully steered the conversation. I heard you've been helping people lately. Thomas laughed. Helping. Sharing stories. The old servant smiled proudly. Someone has to remember things around here. Vanessa nodded, then casually asked, like seeing Elara at the watchtower? Thomas blinked. The smile faded slightly. Only slightly. You heard about that. Vanessa kept her voice light. Everyone has. The old servant chuckled. Well, I suppose I started that. Vanessa laughed with him, then leaned closer. Are you sure it was Elara? Thomas frowned immediately. What do you mean? Just asking. Vanessa shrugged. It was dark. It was raining. Maybe you were mistaken. The old servant's expression hardened. I wasn't mistaken. Vanessa maintained her smile. Inside, irritation flared. That wasn't the answer she wanted. Of course. She nodded, then changed tactics. You know how rumors spread. Thomas remained silent. Vanessa continued. People are already talking. The old servant frowned. Talking about what? Vanessa lowered her voice. About Elara. Thomas immediately became defensive. What about her? Vanessa sighed dramatically, asking whether she's stable. The old servant stared. Vanessa pressed forward. The memory problems. The strange behavior. The things she's claiming. Thomas looked uncomfortable now.
Good.
That was progress. Vanessa gently touched his arm. All I'm saying is maybe we shouldn't encourage speculation. The old servant looked away, thinking,
questioning.
Exactly what she wanted. When Vanessa finally left, she noticed something. Thomas no longer looked certain, only confused. And confusion was useful. Very useful. But Thomas wasn't her only problem. Not even close. Later that evening, Vanessa paid another visit. This time to one of the patrol scouts. The same scout who found evidence at the watchtower. The same scout who reported the silver knife. The same scout who could ruin everything. The young wolf looked surprised when she arrived. Lady Vanessa? Vanessa smiled. I wanted to thank you. The scout blinked. For what? For your service. The compliment caught him completely off guard. Vanessa knew exactly what she was doing. People trusted praise. People trusted kindness. People trusted attention, especially when it came from someone powerful. The conversation lasted nearly 20 minutes. By the end of it, the scout was laughing, relaxed, comfortable, and exactly where Vanessa wanted him. Then she casually asked, Tell me about the watchtower. The scout immediately launched into the story. Footprints. The knife. The strange evidence. Everything. Vanessa listened carefully, asking questions, gathering information, identifying problems. By the time she left, she knew exactly how much he knew. and exactly how dangerous he was. Far too dangerous. Meanwhile, across the village, whispers continued spreading. Questions continued growing, and Vanessa felt control slipping. For the first time since the rejection. She hated it. Back inside her chambers, she locked the door, then crossed to a hidden compartment beneath a cabinet. A place nobody knew existed. A place nobody should ever find. Vanessa opened it. Inside sat several documents. Letters.
Notes.
Records. Evidence. Enough evidence to destroy lives. Enough evidence to destroy hers. She stared at them silently, thinking, calculating, planning. Then she selected one document, read it, and immediately burned it in the fireplace. The paper curled, blackened,
Disappeared.
one less piece of evidence, one less risk, one less threat. But as the flames consumed the page, Vanessa's expression darkened. Because people were asking questions now. Too many questions. And if they kept digging, they might uncover something she had spent months trying to bury. The fire crackled. The last of the document turned to ash. And for the first time all evening, genuine fear crossed Vanessa's face. Because she wasn't trying to protect herself anymore. She was trying to protect a secret. The question was, what is she trying to hide? The next morning, the village woke to rumors. Not ordinary rumors. The kind that spread fast. The kind that made people stop talking when someone approached. The kind that carried fear. By sunrise, nearly everyone had heard the same story. A servant wanted to speak. And now that servant was missing. It began inside the Alpha house. 2 kitchen workers stood near the ovens preparing breakfast. One of them glanced nervously toward the doorway. Have you seen Mara? The second worker looked up. Mara? The serving girl. The woman frowned.
No.
Why? The first worker lowered her voice. She never came home. Silence. The second worker stopped working. What do you mean? I mean she disappeared. Within an hour, the story reached the council chambers. Marcus was the first to take it seriously, because he knew who Mara was. And, more importantly, he knew what Mara had wanted to tell him. The elderly councilman immediately left his meeting, searching the halls, the kitchens, the servant quarters. Nothing. No Mara. No explanation. No message. Nothing. By midday, concern had become alarm. Ronan arrived shortly afterward. Marcus met him near the servant wing. The elder looked grim. She's gone. Ronan frowned.
Who?
Mara. The name meant little to him. Marcus noticed. One of the household servants.
Still nothing.
Then Marcus added. She requested a private meeting yesterday. That got Ronan's attention. A meeting about what? Marcus's jaw tightened. She wouldn't say. Silence. The elder looked toward the empty hallway. Only that it concerned Elara. The atmosphere instantly changed. Ronan straightened. When? Yesterday afternoon. And now she's gone? Marcus nodded. The implications were obvious. Far too obvious. An hour later, several warriors searched the servant quarters. The room was small, simple, modest, exactly what one would expect. Yet something felt wrong. Very wrong. A blanket remained folded on the bed. Her shoes sat beside the door. A half-finished letter remained on the table. Nothing suggested she planned to leave. Quite the opposite. It looked as though she intended to return.
Soon.
Ronan picked up the unfinished letter. The ink had smeared slightly, as if she'd written quickly. In a hurry. The message wasn't complete. Only a few lines. Most were meaningless. Then he found one sentence. His eyes narrowed. I cannot stay silent any longer. The sentence ended there. Nothing followed. The rest of the page remained blank. Ronan slowly lowered the letter. Marcus watched him carefully. What does it say? Ronan handed it over. The elder read it, then looked up, concern deepening. Meanwhile, on the other side of the village, Elara was hearing the same story. Jace burst through her front door without knocking. Again. Elara looked up from her journal. You know most people knock. I don't have time. The warrior looked unusually pale. That immediately worried her. What happened? Jace shut the door, then lowered his voice. A servant disappeared. Elara froze.
Who?
Mara. The name sounded familiar. Very familiar. Then a memory surfaced. Not a missing one. A real one. Mara. The young servant who worked inside the Alpha House. The servant who always smiled. The servant who once delivered messages to Elara. What about her? Jace hesitated, then answered. She wanted to tell Marcus something. Elara's pulse quickened. What? He doesn't know. The answer frustrated both of them. Then how do you know it involved me? Jace's expression darkened. Because she told 3 different people the same thing. Elara slowly stood. What thing? Jace swallowed, then repeated the servant's final known words. I know something about Lady Elara. Silence. The room felt suddenly colder. Much colder. Because now Mara was gone. Gone before she could explain. Gone before she could speak. Gone before anyone learned what she knew. As night fell, search parties returned one by one. Empty-handed. No footprints. No scent trail. No witnesses. No body. Nothing. It was as though Mara had simply vanished. The lack of evidence made everything worse. Because without evidence, imagination took over. Some believed she'd run away. Others believed she'd been frightened into silence. A few whispered something far darker.
Kidnapping.
Murder. A cover-up. Nobody knew. And that uncertainty spread through the village like poison. Later that night, Ronan stood alone in his office. The unfinished letter rested on his desk. The words stared back at him. I cannot stay silent any longer. A simple sentence. Yet somehow it felt important. Dangerously important. Ronan looked out the window toward the sleeping village. Then toward the dark forest beyond. Somewhere out there, someone had altered records. Someone had warned Elara. Someone was removing memories. And now a witness had disappeared. The questions kept multiplying. The answers kept vanishing. And one question now refused to leave his mind. What happened to Mara? Was she kidnapped? Silenced? Or had she run because she knew something terrifying? Ronan didn't sleep. Not because he couldn't. Because every time he closed his eyes, another question appeared. Mara. The forged records. The watchtower. Vanessa. Elara's reaction. Nothing fit together anymore. And the more he thought about it, the more he realized something disturbing. Every answer he received came from someone else. Someone else's report. Someone else's story. Someone else's explanation. What if those explanations were wrong? Or worse, what if they were lies? By dawn, Ronan had made a decision. He was done relying on people. From now on, he would investigate personally. The village was still asleep when he left the Alpha House. No guards. No advisors. No council members. No Vanessa. Especially no Vanessa. For the first time in years, Ronan walked alone. The cool morning air carried the scent of wet earth. The village streets sat empty.
Perfect.
No interruptions. No opinions. No distractions. Just facts. That's what he needed.
Facts.
His first stop was the archives. Again, the old archive keeper looked surprised. Alpha. Ronan closed the door behind him. I need access to everything involving Elara. Gerald blinked. Everything. Everything. The old wolf nodded nervously. Hours passed. Ronan worked alone. Reading. Comparing. Checking signatures. Checking dates. Checking amendments. The deeper he looked, the worse it became. Every document connected to Elara contained inconsistencies. Tiny alterations. Tiny changes. Tiny lies. Individually, they meant nothing. Together, they formed a pattern. A deliberate pattern. Someone had been slowly rewriting her history, and they had been doing it for months. A particular document caught his attention. A disciplinary report. According to the report, Elara had missed a council summons 6 months ago. Ronan frowned. He remembered that week.
Clearly.
Elara hadn't missed the summons. The summons had never happened. He knew because he'd cancelled the meeting himself. Yet somehow the report claimed otherwise. Someone had created an event that never existed. Ronan slowly lowered the paper. His jaw tightened. This wasn't carelessness. This was planning. He left the archives immediately. His next stop was the council chambers. Empty. Exactly as he'd hoped. Ronan searched through old meeting logs, attendance sheets, scheduling records, everything. Again, he found discrepancies. More altered dates. More forged signatures. More changes. Each one connected to Elara. And only Elara. That detail bothered him most. Why her? Why not anyone else? A sudden memory surfaced. Vanessa. The knife. The engraving. The way she'd known about it. His expression darkened. For weeks he'd ignored little things. Small inconsistencies. Tiny moments that felt strange. Now those moments were returning. And they looked different. Much different. Later that afternoon, Ronan visited the servant quarters. Specifically Mara's room. Nobody knew he was there. Nobody was supposed to. The room remained untouched since her disappearance. Exactly as she'd left it. Ronan moved carefully, examining everything. A drawer. A cabinet. A writing desk. Nothing. Then he noticed something odd. The underside of the desk. A small scratch. Too deliberate to be accidental. Ronan crouched, looking closer. The scratch wasn't random. It was a mark. A symbol. A crescent moon. Exactly like the one found on the knife. His pulse quickened. The same symbol again. 3 times now. The knife. The torn cloth. And Mara's desk. Coincidence was becoming impossible. Then he found something else. A loose floorboard. Ronan lifted it carefully. Beneath it sat a folded piece of paper. Hidden. Protected. Secret. His heartbeat accelerated. Finally. Something real. Something untouched. Ronan unfolded the paper. And froze. The note contained only a few words. Nothing more. Yet the message sent a chill through him. Because Mara had written, "If anything happens to me, look at the council records." Silence filled the room. Ronan stared at the words. Again. And again. And again. The council records. The exact records he'd spent the morning investigating. The exact records that had been altered. The exact records someone desperately wanted hidden. A chill crawled down his spine. Because Mara knew. Somehow she knew. And now she was gone. Ronan slowly folded the note. His mind racing. His suspicions growing. His trust shrinking. Marcus? Maybe. Gerald? Possibly. Vanessa? Increasingly. The truth was simple now. He couldn't trust anyone completely. Not the council. Not the records. Not the witnesses. Not even the people closest to him. The realization was terrifying. Because if everyone was a suspect, then the person behind all of this could be standing beside him every day. Smiling. Pretending. Watching. Waiting. Ronan slipped the note into his pocket. Then looked around the empty room. One question echoed through his mind. If the records were the key, what would he find when he finally uncovered the truth? Night settled heavily over the village. Most windows had gone dark. Most conversations had ended. But sleep refused to come for Elara. She sat alone beside the fireplace, staring at the torn piece of gray cloth lying on the table in front of her. The crescent moon symbol seemed almost alive beneath the firelight. Knife. Watchtower. Mara. Now this. Every path led back to the same symbol. And every answer remained just out of reach. Elara leaned back in her chair. Exhaustion weighed on her body. But her mind wouldn't stop moving. Questions. Memories. Fragments. Voices. The hooded figure. Always the hooded figure. She closed her eyes. Just for a moment. Only a moment. And immediately, the memory returned. Rain slammed against stone walls. Thunder rolled across the sky. The watchtower stood dark beneath the storm. This time the memory felt stronger. Longer. More stable. Elara forced herself deeper into it. Don't lose it. Not this time. Memory. Elara stood beneath the archway, soaked from the rain. The hooded figure paced nearby. Agitated. Nervous. Watching the forest repeatedly. As though expecting someone to arrive. or terrified someone already had. Memory Elara stepped closer. You still haven't told me everything. The hooded figure stopped pacing. Silence stretched between them. Rainwater dripped from the edge of the cloak. Finally, the stranger spoke. I'm trying to protect you. By refusing to answer me? You shouldn't even be here. Memory Elara folded her arms. Then why ask me to come? The hooded figure looked away. That hesitation felt important. Very important. You needed to know before tomorrow. Again.
Tomorrow.
The rejection. They had known. Somehow they had known. Memory Elara shook her head. No one can know something like that. The hooded figure stepped closer. Close enough now that Elara should finally see the face. Close enough. Lightning flashed overhead. For one brief second,
She almost saw it.
a jawline, dark hair, a scar near the neck. Then thunder exploded. The lantern flickered violently, and shadow swallowed the face again. No, present-day Elara whispered aloud beside the fireplace. Inside the memory, the hooded figure grabbed her arm.
Hard.
You need to listen carefully. The voice sounded desperate now, almost frightened. When Ronan rejects you, the memory slowed. Every word became sharper. Do not fight him. Memory Elara stared. Why? The hooded figure hesitated, then answered quietly. Because if you do, they'll know. A chill ripped through Elara.
They.
Again. Always they.
Who were they?
Memory Elara demanded the same answer. Who will know? The hooded figure looked toward the forest, toward something hidden beyond the rain, then back at her. And for the first time, fear appeared in the stranger's voice. Real fear. The people watching us. Elara's pulse thundered. Watching. Someone had been watching the meeting. Even then, even before the rejection, the hooded figure suddenly stepped backward, alarmed, as if hearing something. We're out of time. Memory Elara grabbed the stranger's cloak. Wait. The hood slipped slightly. This was it. This time she would finally see the face. The shadow shifted. The stranger turned toward her. And Elara saw nothing. The face blurred, not hidden by darkness. Blurred. As though the memory itself refused to reveal it. Elara frowned inside the memory.
Confused.
No matter how hard she looked, the face wouldn't appear. It was there. She knew it was there. Yet somehow she couldn't see it. The stranger spoke one final time. If you remember anything. Another flash of lightning. Remember the watchtower. Then, the memory shattered. Elara's eyes snapped open. She nearly fell from the chair. Her breathing came hard.
Fast.
Her pulse hammered violently in her chest. The fire crackled beside her. The cabin returned. The table. The cloth. The silence. Elara pressed trembling fingers against her forehead. The memory had lasted longer than ever before. Long enough to reveal something new. Someone had been watching them that night. The hooded figure knew it. Feared it. And somehow, the face remained hidden. Not by the hood. By something else. Something unnatural. Something deliberate. Elara slowly looked toward the dark window beside the fireplace. Her reflection stared back at her. Uneasy. Frightened.
Confused.
Because one terrifying realization now echoed through her mind. The memory wasn't refusing to show her the face. Something was stopping her from seeing it. The question was, why can't she remember the face? The cabin felt smaller after the memory. Smaller. Darker. More dangerous. Elara remained seated beside the fireplace, trying to steady her breathing. The words echoed through her mind. The people watching us. Not one person.
People.
Plural. The hooded figure had been afraid of them. Terrified. And somehow, those same people seemed connected to everything happening now. The missing memories. The altered records. Mara's disappearance. The crescent moon symbol. Everything. A sudden knock rattled the door.
Bang.
Elara jumped. Her hand immediately moved toward the dagger on the table. Silence followed. No second knock. No voice. Nothing. The cabin became deathly quiet. Slowly, she stood, listening. The fire crackled behind her. The wind brushed against the walls. Then, a shadow moved past the window.
Fast.
Very fast. Elara's pulse spiked. Who's there? No answer. The shadow vanished. Elara grabbed her dagger. Every instinct screamed danger. She moved toward the window carefully. 1 step.
2. 3.
Then looked outside. Nothing. Only darkness. Only trees. Only moonlight. For a moment, she almost convinced herself she'd imagined it. Then the cabin door exploded inward. Crash. Wood splintered across the room. Elara barely had time to react. A dark figure charged through the opening. Masked.
Fast.
Silent. A knife flashed toward her throat. Instinct took over. Elara threw herself sideways. The blade sliced through empty air. The attacker crashed into the table instead. The chair overturned. The torn cloth fell to the floor. The crescent moon symbol disappeared beneath scattered papers. Elara rolled across the wooden floor. Pain shot through her shoulder. She ignored it. The attacker recovered immediately. Too skilled. Too fast. This wasn't a thief. This wasn't a random enemy. This was someone trained. Someone sent here for a purpose. The masked figure lunged again. Steel collided with steel.
Spark.
Elara blocked the strike with her dagger. The force nearly ripped the weapon from her hand. The attacker pressed harder. Stronger. Relentless. Elara kicked a nearby stool. The wooden leg smashed into the attacker's knee. A grunt escaped the mask. The figure staggered. Elara seized the opportunity. She drove forward. Her shoulder slammed into the attacker's chest. Both crashed into the wall. Pictures shattered. Glass exploded across the floor. The attacker recovered first. Again. Always first. A gloved hand grabbed Elara's throat. Hard. Very hard. Her vision blurred. She clawed at the attacker's wrist. Trying to breathe. Trying to escape. The grip tightened. The masked figure leaned closer. Close enough that Elara could see their eyes. Cold. Focused. Determined. Not here to threaten her. Not here to scare her. Here to kill her. A flash of terror shot through her. Then another memory surfaced. The hooded figure. The warning. Don't fight it. The strange words ignited something inside her. Anger. Defiance. Survival. Elara drove her knee upward. The attacker grunted. The grip loosened. Just enough. She twisted free. Then grabbed a burning log from the fireplace. The attacker charged again. Elara swung.
Whoosh.
The burning wood slammed into the attacker's shoulder. Flames burst across part of the dark cloak. For the first time, the attacker retreated. Not much. Just enough. Elara immediately noticed something. A symbol, briefly visible beneath the damaged fabric. A silver crescent moon. The same symbol. Again. Her eyes widened. No. The attacker realized she'd seen it. Immediately. A flash of panic crossed those cold eyes. The figure turned.
Ran. Fast.
Very fast. Toward the broken doorway. Stop. Elara chased. Bursting from the cabin. Moonlight flooded the clearing. The attacker sprinted toward the forest. Elara followed. Branches whipped against her face. Roots threatened to trip her. Still she ran. Closer. Closer. Almost there. The attacker glanced back once. Then threw something. A small blade. Elara ducked. The weapon buried itself in a tree behind her. That split second was enough. The attacker disappeared into the darkness.
Gone.
Again. Elara skidded to a stop. Breathing hard. Listening. Nothing. No footsteps. No movement. No sound. The forest had swallowed them. Just like before. Just like every other time. Frustration exploded inside her. Damn it. The trees offered no answer. Only silence. After several moments, Elara slowly looked down. Something glimmered in the dirt. The attacker had dropped it during the chase. A small metal token. No larger than a coin. Elara picked it up, turned it over, and felt her stomach drop. Engraved into the metal was the same symbol she kept seeing everywhere. The crescent moon. Knife. Cloth. Hidden markings. And now this. The connections were no longer coincidences. Someone was hunting her. Someone wanted her dead. Someone connected to that symbol. The question was no longer whether she was in danger. The question was far worse.
Who sent them?
Elara didn't return to the cabin. Not immediately. The shattered doorway, the overturned furniture, the attack. Everything about it felt wrong. Too deliberate. Too planned. Someone had known exactly where she would be. Someone had known she was alone. The realization haunted her as she moved through the forest. The silver token remained clutched tightly in her hand. The crescent moon symbol seemed heavier now. More dangerous. Every answer she found only created more questions. And tonight, someone had tried to kill her. Not threaten. Not scare.
Kill.
A branch snapped somewhere behind her. Elara instantly spun around. Dagger raised. Nothing. The forest remained silent. Yet her pulse accelerated. Every shadow looked dangerous now. Every sound felt like a threat. She continued walking.
Faster.
The moonlight filtered through the trees overhead, creating shifting patterns across the ground. Then, movement. To her left.
Fast.
Elara reacted instantly. The dagger flashed into her hand. She turned, and a dark figure lunged from the trees. Elara. The voice startled her. Familiar. Very familiar. Too late. Her dagger was already moving. The blade slashed toward the figure. The stranger caught her wrist inches before impact. Both froze. For a second neither moved. Then Elara recognized him. Ronan. Silence exploded between them. The forest seemed to disappear. The wind vanished. The sounds faded. Only Ronan remained, standing directly in front of her, holding her wrist, breathing heavily. Elara jerked her arm free immediately. What are you doing here? Ronan stared at her. His expression was a mixture of surprise and concern. I could ask you the same thing. The answer only irritated her. You've been following me.
No.
The response came instantly. Too instantly. Elara folded her arms. Then explain why you just appeared in the middle of the forest. Ronan hesitated. A mistake. A small one. But Elara noticed. You were following me. The accusation hung in the air. Ronan looked away briefly, then sighed. I heard about the attack. Elara froze. What? The village is already talking. His eyes moved over her, searching for injuries. Are you hurt? The question caught her off guard. Not because of the words, because of the concern behind them. Real concern. Genuine concern. For a moment she didn't know how to respond. Then anger returned, stronger than before. You don't get to ask that. Ronan's expression tightened. What? You rejected me. The words came out harder than intended. Months of trust. Years of loyalty. All pouring into a single sentence. You stood in front of the entire pack and threw me away. Silence. Ronan absorbed the blow. Didn't defend himself. Didn't argue. That only made it worse. Elara stepped closer. Emotion finally breaking through. Do you know what happened after that? Ronan remained silent. You don't. Her voice shook. Not with weakness. With anger. Because while you were celebrating with Vanessa, someone ripped pages from my journal. Ronan's eyes narrowed. Pages? Someone erased parts of my memory. His expression changed. Slightly. You've heard the rumors. Those aren't rumors. The answer came immediately. Too immediately. Ronan noticed. Elara noticed him noticing. For several seconds, neither spoke. The forest around them felt strangely still. Then Elara pulled the metal token from her pocket. The crescent moon's symbol gleamed beneath the moonlight. Ronan froze. The reaction was immediate and unmistakable. Elara saw it. What? Ronan stared at the token. His jaw tightened. Where did you get that? Now it was Elara's turn to stare. You know what this is. The statement wasn't a question. Ronan looked away. A dangerous sign. Because Ronan rarely looked away. What is it? The alpha remained silent. Elara stepped forward. What is it, Ronan? His eyes returned to hers. And for the first time since the rejection, she saw something unexpected. Fear. Not for himself. For her. The realization unsettled her. Ronan slowly reached for the token. Where did you get this? Before Elara could answer, A scream tore through the forest. Both froze. The sound echoed through the trees. A woman's scream.
Distant.
Terrified. Then another.
Closer this time.
Ronan immediately turned toward the sound, every instinct taking over. Stay here. Elara laughed bitterly. Not happening. Another scream echoed through the night, then suddenly stopped. The silence that followed felt worse. Much worse. Ronan and Elara exchanged a look. Neither needed to speak. Someone was in danger. And somehow, the timing felt impossible. Almost as if whoever screamed knew exactly when to interrupt them. As if someone didn't want this conversation to continue. Didn't want Elara learning what the token meant. Ronan drew his weapon. Elara tightened her grip on the dagger. Then together they ran toward the source of the scream, neither realizing that hidden among the trees behind them, a shadow watched them leave. Motionless.
Silent.
Waiting. The moonlight briefly revealed a familiar symbol stitched into the shadow's cloak. A silver crescent moon. Then the figure disappeared into darkness. And one question remained. Who interrupted them? The scream led nowhere. By the time Ronan and Elara reached its source, the forest clearing stood empty. No victim. No attacker. No blood. Nothing. Only silence. The kind of silence that felt staged. Manufactured.
Like someone had wanted them there.
Wanted them away from something else. Ronan searched the area carefully. Tracks. Broken branches. Signs of a struggle. There should have been something. Instead, nothing. Elara noticed it too. This was a distraction. Ronan didn't answer, because he was beginning to think the same thing. Another scream echoed in the distance. Different direction. Different location. This time both ignored it. The realization had already settled in. Someone was playing with them. An hour later, Elara finally returned home. The sight immediately stopped her. The broken door. The shattered furniture. The damage from the attack. Everything looked worse now. More personal. More violating. Someone had entered her home intending to kill her. The anger returned instantly. She stepped inside, dagger still in hand, scanning every corner, every shadow, every room. Nothing. Empty. At least it appeared empty. Then she froze. Something was different. Very different. The journal. It sat in the middle of the table. Open. Waiting. Elara's pulse quickened. No. She hadn't left it there. She knew she hadn't. When she'd rushed outside during the attack, the journal had fallen beside the fireplace. Now it rested neatly at the center of the table. Someone had moved it. Someone had been inside again. Recently. Very recently. Elara approached slowly. Every instinct screaming caution. The room felt colder. The silence felt heavier. Then she noticed something else. A stack of folded pages sat beside the journal. Her breath caught.
No.
Her eyes widened.
No. No. No.
The missing pages. The torn journal pages. The pages that had vanished. The pages someone had stolen. They were here. Returned. Just sitting there. Waiting for her. Elara stared at them in disbelief. For several seconds, she couldn't move.
Couldn't think.
Couldn't breathe. Then she grabbed them.
Quickly.
Almost desperately. Her hands trembled as she unfolded the first page. The paper was real. The handwriting was hers. The torn edges matched perfectly. Whoever had taken them had returned them.
Why? Why now?
Why after all this time? A chill crawled down her spine. Because there was only one answer. The person who returned them wanted her to read them.
The question was why.
Elara sat down immediately. The journal opened before her. The missing pages spread across the table. Her heart hammered. Every page represented answers. Maybe the answers. The first page contained ordinary entries. Notes. Observations. Nothing unusual. Then she turned to the next page. And froze. A sentence jumped out immediately. Written in her own handwriting. Written days before the rejection. I know someone is watching me. The room became very quiet. Elara read it again. Then again. The words felt different now. More dangerous. Because she knew they were true. Someone had been watching her. Still was. She continued reading. Another passage caught her eye. I followed the symbol again today. The symbol. The crescent moon. Her pulse quickened. The same symbol. The knife. The token. The cloth. Everything connected. She flipped to the next page and found something even stranger. A section had been crossed out violently, over and over, as if someone desperately wanted to hide what had been written there. Yet one word remained visible. A single word. Vanessa. Elara froze. Her eyes locked on the name. Vanessa. The word sat alone among the black ink scratches. Almost hidden. Almost erased. Almost. But not completely. A knock suddenly echoed from outside. 3 slow knocks. Knock. 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 Elara nearly jumped. Her hand moved instinctively toward her dagger. The knock came again.
Slow.
Patient. Not aggressive. Not threatening. Almost familiar. Elara approached the shattered doorway carefully. Who's there? Silence. Then the sound of retreating footsteps. She rushed outside. Moonlight flooded the clearing. The forest stood silent. Empty. No visitor. No messenger. No stranger. Nobody. Only a single object resting on the porch. A lantern.
Old.
Weathered. The same type she remembered from the watchtower memory. Her stomach tightened. Someone had left it there. Moments ago. Someone had returned the pages. Someone had left the lantern. And someone had vanished before she could see them. Again. Elara slowly picked up the lantern. Inside, tucked beneath the handle, was a small folded piece of paper. A note. Her pulse thundered. She unfolded it carefully. Only 4 words were written inside. Read the last page. Nothing else. No name. No signature. No explanation. Just those 4 words. Elara stared at the note, then looked back toward the journal inside her cabin. The final page. The page she'd not yet read. And as the wind whispered through the trees, one question echoed through her mind. Who returned the pages? The note trembled slightly in Elara's hand. Read the last page. For words. No signature. No explanation. No name. Someone had risked entering her cabin. Someone had returned the missing pages.
Someone wanted her to see something.
Specifically, something on the last page. The question was why. Elara stepped back inside. The broken door creaked behind her. The lantern from the porch rested on the table now. Beside the journal. Beside the returned pages. Beside the growing pile of mysteries that refused to leave her alone. She sat down, took a deep breath, and turned to the final page. At first glance, it looked ordinary. Just another journal entry, written in her handwriting, dated 3 days before the rejection. The sight alone sent a chill through her. 3 days. 3 days before her entire life fell apart. Slowly, she began reading. I was wrong. Elara frowned. Wrong about what? She continued. This was never about Ronan. Her heartbeat quickened. Not about Ronan? Then what was it about? She kept reading. Whoever is behind this started long before the rejection. The room felt suddenly colder. Long before. Not weeks. Not days. Long before. Her eyes raced down the page. The records aren't matching anymore. Elara froze. Records. The same records Ronan had been investigating. The same records Mara had warned about. The same records someone had altered. Her pulse thundered. She read faster. Every time I check them, something changes. A chill ran through her. She remembered none of this. Not a single word. Yet she had written it.
Her own handwriting.
Her own thoughts. Her own investigation. And somehow all memory of it had vanished. Elara turned the page. Another entry. Another revelation. Someone inside the pack is creating false histories. Silence. The words seemed to echo through the cabin. False histories. Not lies. Not rumors. Histories. Someone was rewriting the past.
Piece by piece.
Document by document. Memory by memory. Elara's stomach tightened. Because suddenly the altered records and her disappearing memories felt connected. Terrifyingly connected. She continued reading. I thought the forged documents were the goal. I was wrong. Again.
Wrong.
The same word. Repeated. A warning from her past self. The next line made her blood run cold. The documents are only covering something else. Elara sat upright. Covering what? She flipped to the next page. Her eyes immediately found another passage. One that had been underlined twice. Follow the crescent moon. The symbol. Again. Always the symbol. Knife. Token.
Cloth.
Now the journal. Everything led back to it. Everything. She turned another page. And suddenly found something unexpected. A list.
Names.
Dozens of names. Pack members. Council members. Servants. Warriors. Some crossed out. Others circled. Several marked with question marks. Elara stared. This wasn't a diary. This was an investigation. A real investigation. She had been tracking people. Comparing information. Looking for connections. Looking for someone. The realization hit hard. Before the rejection, she hadn't been planning a future with Ronan. She had been hunting the truth. Then she reached the final entry. The final word she'd written before the pages disappeared. The handwriting looked rushed. Messier. More urgent. As if she'd been writing quickly. Running out of time. Elara's heart pounded as she read. I finally know where to look. Her breath caught. Finally. An answer. The next line followed immediately. The watchtower wasn't the meeting place. Elara froze. What? Not the meeting place? Then, why had she gone there? She read on. It's where they left messages. Her pulse accelerated. Messages. The watchtower wasn't the destination. It was a dead drop. A place to exchange information. A place to communicate secretly. Suddenly everything made more sense. The hooded figure. The warning. The hidden carving. The silver knife. All of it. The watchtower was part of something larger. Much larger. Elara kept reading. The final lines filled the page. The final lines her past self had desperately tried to preserve. Tomorrow I will confirm it. Her breathing slowed, then stopped. Because beneath that sentence sat one final line. The last thing she had written before the pages vanished. The last thing she remembered before her memories began disappearing. If I'm right, someone inside the council is involved. Silence. Absolute silence. The cabin felt frozen. The fire crackled softly nearby. But Elara barely heard it. Her eyes remained locked on those words. Someone inside the council. Not outside. Inside. Someone powerful. Someone trusted. Someone close enough to manipulate records. Close enough to influence investigations. Close enough to know things others didn't. The realization sent a wave of dread through her. Because suddenly this wasn't about a jealous rival. Or a rejected mate. Or even Vanessa. This was bigger. Far bigger. And as Elara stared at the final page, one terrifying question echoed through her mind. What exactly had she been investigating? Elara didn't move for a long time. The journal remained open before her. The final page. The final warning. The final clue. Someone inside the council is involved. The words seemed burned into her mind. Not because they were shocking. Because they explained too much. Too many things suddenly fit together. And that terrified her. The fire crackled softly beside her. Outside, the forest swayed beneath the moonlight. Inside the cabin, Elara's eyes slowly drifted back through the journal pages. Again. And again. This time she wasn't reading. She was connecting. Searching. Looking for patterns. The same thing her past self had been doing. And then, she saw it. Not an answer. A pattern. A hidden pattern. She spread the pages across the table. One by one. The missing journal entries. The notes. The names. The warnings. The list. The symbol. Everything. At first it looked like chaos. Random observations. Random concerns. Random events. Then the pattern emerged. The rejection. The watchtower. The altered records. The missing memories. Mara's disappearance. Every event connected to information. Not power. Not revenge. Information. Elara froze. Information. The realization hit hard. The people behind this weren't trying to hurt her emotionally. The rejection wasn't the objective. The attack wasn't the objective. The missing memories weren't the objective. Someone was protecting information. Dangerous information. Every strange event pointed to the same thing. Every single one. Elara grabbed another page. This one contained notes about the council records. Several dates had been circled. Several meetings highlighted. Her eyes narrowed. Then she noticed something strange. The same dates appeared elsewhere. Different pages. Different entries. Different events. Yet the dates repeated. Again. And again. And again. Her heartbeat quickened. No way. She immediately searched through more pages. Looking faster now. The pattern became impossible to ignore. Several major events happened immediately after specific council meetings. The forged documents. The watchtower messages. Certain disappearances. Certain alterations. Even Mara's concerns. All connected to those dates. The council meetings. A memory suddenly surfaced. Not a missing one. A normal memory. Marcus speaking during a council gathering months ago. One phrase. One sentence. At the time it seemed meaningless. Now it felt important. Very important. Information is power. The words echoed in her mind. Information is power. Suddenly everything made sense. Not perfectly, but enough. Someone wasn't rewriting history because they enjoyed control. Someone was controlling information because it gave them power. Elara stood abruptly. The chair nearly fell backward. Her mind raced. The attack. The watchtower. The memories. The records. The council. The symbol. The pattern connected everything. Every clue pointed toward the same conclusion. Someone had built an entire system. A system designed to control what people knew. What they remembered. What they believed. A system hidden inside the pack itself. And somehow, she had discovered it. Before the rejection. Before the attack. Before everything fell apart. That was why the pages disappeared. That was why the memories disappeared. That was why Mara disappeared. Not because of what they had done. Because of what they knew. A sudden knock shattered the silence. Knock. 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 Elara froze. Her pulse immediately accelerated. Not again. The knocks came slowly. Patiently. Deliberately. Someone knew she was home. Someone wanted her attention. Elara grabbed her dagger. Moved toward the shattered doorway.
Carefully.
Quietly. The knock stopped. Silence followed. Then a voice spoke. A familiar voice. Elara. Ronan. She relaxed slightly. Only slightly. The timing still felt strange. Too strange. She stepped outside. Ronan stood alone beneath the moonlight. No guards. No council members. No witnesses. His expression looked grim. Very grim. The moment he saw her, he spoke. I found something. Elara immediately answered. So did I. Both stopped, studying each other. Neither seemed surprised anymore. Almost as if they'd reached the same conclusion separately. Ronan reached into his coat, removed a folded document, then handed it to her. Elara unfolded it, read it, and froze. It was a council record, one of the altered ones. Only this version contained notes hidden beneath the original ink. Notes visible only under special light. A second set of records. A secret record. And one phrase had been written repeatedly across the page. The crescent moon. Again. Always the crescent moon. Ronan looked at her. What does it mean? Elara slowly lowered the document. The answer sat somewhere in front of them.
Hidden. Close.
Closer than ever before. Because for the first time, all the clues were pointing toward the same place. The same people. The same secret. The same organization. And one terrifying question now stood above every other mystery. What is the connection? Vanessa knew before Ronan arrived.
She didn't know how. She didn't know why.
But she felt it. The same feeling prey feels moments before a trap closes. The same feeling that had haunted her for days. The questions were getting closer. And Ronan was asking too many of them. The rain had returned.
Soft.
Steady. Tapping against the windows of her chambers. Vanessa stood beside the fireplace, staring into the flames. Trying to think. Trying to plan. Trying to stay ahead. A knock echoed through the room. 3 sharp knocks. Not polite. Not casual. Demanding. Vanessa closed her eyes. There it is. The moment she'd been expecting. Come in. The door opened immediately. Ronan entered. Alone. No guards. No council members. No witnesses. That worried her more than anything, because it meant this wasn't official. It was personal. The door closed behind him. Neither spoke. For several seconds, only the fire crackled. Vanessa forced a smile. You're becoming predictable. Ronan didn't smile back. A bad sign. Very bad. Instead, he walked across the room, dropped a stack of papers onto her table. The documents spread outward. Council records. Attendance logs. Meeting reports. Vanessa recognized them immediately. Her stomach tightened. But she hid it well. Mostly. What is this? Ronan's eyes never left hers. You tell me. The calmness in his voice felt dangerous. Far more dangerous than anger. Vanessa crossed her arms. I don't know what you're talking about. Ronan picked up one document. Held it in front of her. This signature is forged. Another. This date was changed. Another. This meeting never happened. The papers landed on the table one by one. Like stones. Like evidence. Like accusations. Vanessa remained silent. The fire popped loudly behind her. Neither looked away. Finally Ronan spoke. How much do you know? The question caught her off guard. Not because of the words. Because of what wasn't there. No accusation. No conclusion. Just a question. A real question. Vanessa hesitated.
A mistake.
Ronan noticed immediately. You do know something. The silence that followed answered for her. Vanessa turned away. Toward the window. Toward the rain. Anywhere but him. You're making assumptions.
No.
Ronan stepped forward. I'm following facts. The words landed harder than he intended, because Vanessa suddenly laughed. Not happily. Not warmly. A bitter laugh. Facts. She turned around. Eyes flashing. Do you even know what facts are anymore? Ronan frowned. The reaction surprised him. Vanessa.
No.
She cut him off. Years of frustration finally breaking loose. You rejected Elara because of evidence. Her voice rose. Evidence that now might be false. Another step forward. Another crack in her control. You trusted reports. You trusted records. You trusted people. Her voice became sharper. Now suddenly you're questioning everything? The room became silent. Because Ronan didn't have an answer. Not a good one. Vanessa saw it. And for the first time, she looked genuinely angry. Not frightened.
Angry.
Then suddenly, the anger vanished.
Just like that.
Replacing it with something else.
Fear.
Real fear. Vanessa looked away. A terrible mistake. Because Ronan finally saw it. Not nervousness. Not guilt.
Fear.
Fear of something. Or someone. The realization hit him immediately. You're scared. Vanessa froze. The room became silent. Very silent. Ronan took another step. Who are you afraid of? No answer. Vanessa's breathing quickened. Only slightly. But enough. Vanessa. Still nothing. Ronan's pulse accelerated. Because for the first time, he realized something important. Vanessa wasn't acting like the mastermind. She was acting like someone trapped. Someone protecting something. Or someone. Tell me the truth. The words came quietly. Vanessa laughed again. A sad laugh this time. Almost defeated. The truth. She looked directly at him. For a moment Ronan thought she might finally confess. Finally explain everything. Finally reveal the answers. Instead she whispered, You have no idea how deep this goes. The words sent a chill through him. What does that mean? Vanessa shook her head. You still think this started with Elara? Ronan's expression hardened. Didn't it? Vanessa smiled sadly.
No.
The answer came instantly. Too instantly.
No.
Silence. Rain struck the windows. The fire crackled. And suddenly Ronan realized something terrifying. Vanessa believed that.
Completely.
Whatever this was, it had begun long before Elara. Long before the rejection. Long before the forged records. Long before any of it. Then tell me. Vanessa closed her eyes. For several seconds, she looked exhausted, defeated, broken. Then she opened them again. And the walls came back up. Immediately. The fear disappeared. The vulnerability disappeared. Everything disappeared.
Gone.
She had regained control. I've already said too much. Ronan's frustration exploded. People are disappearing. No response. Someone attacked Elara. Silence. The council records are forged. Nothing. Vanessa. The shout echoed through the room. For the first time all evening, genuine anger. Vanessa flinched. Just slightly. But she still refused to speak. Then something unexpected happened. A tear rolled down her cheek. Only one. Vanessa immediately wiped it away, as if ashamed it existed. Ronan stared.
Shocked.
Because Vanessa never cried. Never. Not once in all the years he'd known her. The sight unsettled him. Deeply. Because it meant one thing. She knew something terrible. Something terrible enough to frighten her. And terrible enough to make her stay silent. Finally Ronan stepped back, realizing he wasn't getting the full truth tonight. Not yet. Maybe not ever. He turned toward the door, then stopped. One final question. Are you protecting yourself? Vanessa remained silent. The silence itself became an answer. Then he asked the second question. The important question. Or, are you protecting someone else? For the first time all evening, Vanessa looked afraid. Truly afraid. Not of Ronan. Not of being caught. Of the question itself. The reaction lasted only a second. But it was enough. Ronan saw it. And so did she. The mistake couldn't be taken back. Without another word, Ronan left. The door closed behind him. Vanessa remained standing beside the fire. Alone. Silent.
Shaking.
Because she knew something Ronan didn't. Something Elara didn't. Something nobody else had discovered yet. And if they ever did, everything would change. The rain continued falling outside. The fire burned lower. And one terrifying question remained. What is Vanessa still hiding? The storm arrived after midnight. Thunder rolled across the valley. Lightning split the sky. Rain hammered rooftops. And inside her cabin, Elara sat alone, waiting. The journal remained open. The recovered pages spread across the table. The lantern from the watchtower burned beside them. Its flame flickered strangely, almost nervously, as though it remembered something.
Just like she did, or was trying to.
The words from the journal refused to leave her mind. The watchtower wasn't the meeting place. It's where they left messages. And someone inside the council is involved. The clues were finally aligning. The pattern was becoming visible. But one piece remained missing. One critical piece. The hooded figure. The person who had warned her. The person who knew the rejection was coming. The person who seemed terrified of whoever was watching. If she could remember that face, everything might finally make sense. A sudden pain exploded behind her eyes. Elara gasped. The journal slipped from her fingers. The lantern flames surged.
Bright.
Brighter. Then brighter still.
What?
Another wave hit. Stronger. Much stronger. Unlike the others. This wasn't a fragment. This wasn't a glimpse. This was a flood. The room vanished. The cabin disappeared. And suddenly, she was there.
Rain. Cold.
Heavy. Relentless. The watchtower stood beneath the storm. Every detail felt real. The smell of wet stone. The sound of thunder. The sting of rain against her skin. This wasn't a memory anymore. It felt like she was reliving it. The hooded figure stood beneath the archway, waiting, watching, nervous. More nervous than ever before. This time Elara could see more. Much more. The stranger's hands trembled. The stranger kept checking the tree line. The stranger was afraid. Terrified. Memory Elara stepped forward. You asked me to come. The hooded figure nodded. I know. Then tell me the truth. The stranger hesitated. Longer this time. Then spoke. The records. The word immediately caught Elara's attention. The records aren't the secret. Thunder boomed overhead. Memory Elara frowned. Then what is? The stranger looked toward the forest, toward something unseen, then back at her. The answer came quietly, almost whispered. The records are hiding people. Silence. Rain crashed against stone. Memory Elara stared. What people? The hooded figure didn't answer immediately. Instead, they stepped closer. Close enough that Elara should finally see the face. Close enough to end the mystery. Lightning flashed. The hood shifted. And for one brief second, she saw part of the face. A cheek. A scar. A familiar mouth. Then the image blurred again. Like someone smearing paint across glass. No. Present-day Elara screamed into the memory. The face vanished. Again. The stranger grabbed her shoulders. Urgent. Desperate. You need to listen. Memory Elara pulled away. No. Her voice cracked. Show me your face. The hooded figure froze. Then slowly whispered. I can't. Why? The answer came immediately. Because they had rehearsed it. Because they already knew. Because they took it. A chill ripped through Elara. Memory Elara stared. What? The stranger's voice trembled. They took it from your memories. The world stopped.
Rain.
Thunder. Everything.
Stopped.
The words echoed endlessly. They took it from your memories. Not forgotten.
Taken.
Deliberately. Removed. Suddenly another sound echoed through the storm. Footsteps. Several of them. Approaching.
Fast.
The hooded figure heard them too. Panic exploded across their face. Real panic. The kind people feel when death is approaching. They found us. The stranger turned toward the forest. Terrified. Memory Elara grabbed their arm. Who found us? No answer. The footsteps grew closer. 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 The hooded figure pulled something from inside their cloak. A folded document.
Old.
Weathered. Important. They shoved it into her hands. Keep this hidden. What is it? The stranger looked directly at her. For the first time in the entire memory, directly at her. And whispered. The real council list. Elara's pulse thundered. The Real Council list? What did that mean? Who was on it? The footsteps were almost upon them now. The stranger backed away. Desperate. Frantic. Rain poured from the hood. The face remained blurred. Impossible to see. Impossible to remember. Then, for the first time, the stranger removed the hood.
Completely.
Elara saw the face. Actually saw it.
Clear.
Perfectly clear. No shadows. No darkness. No obstruction. She knew exactly who it was. The answer finally stood before her. The mystery was over. The face belonged to. Crack. Lightning exploded across the sky. The memory shattered.
Gone.
Everything vanished. Elara's eyes flew open. She crashed backward from her chair. The lantern fell. The journal scattered across the floor. Her breathing came in violent gasps. No, the scream echoed through the cabin. Because she had seen it. Actually seen it. The face. The answer. The truth. For one brief second, she knew exactly who stood in the tower. And now, it was gone again. Ripped away.
Stolen.
Removed. Just like before. Only this time, she knew something terrifying. The memory hadn't disappeared on its own. Something had taken it. Again. And somewhere beyond the cabin walls, beyond the storm, beyond the darkness, someone knew she was getting closer. Closer than ever before. The question that remained was the one the audience had been waiting for since the beginning. Who was in the tower? The storm refused to end. Rain battered the cabin roof. Thunder shook the walls. And Elara sat on the floor surrounded by scattered journal pages. Her entire body trembled. Not from fear. From frustration. She had seen the face. Actually seen it. For the first time. The answer had been there. Right there. Then it vanished. Again. Why? Her voice cracked. The question wasn't for anyone. It was for herself. For the memories. For whoever kept stealing them. Because this time felt different. This time something remained. Not the face. A feeling. Recognition. The face had belonged to someone she knew. Very well. Someone she trusted. Another bolt of lightning illuminated the cabin. And suddenly, the pain returned. Violent.
Sharp.
Brutal. Elara doubled over. A scream escaped her throat. The lantern flame exploded upward. The room blurred. The walls vanished. And the memory returned. Harder than before. Stronger than before. This time there was no stopping it.
Rain.
The watchtower. The hooded figure. The footsteps approaching through the forest. Everything returned. Every detail. Every sound. Every word. The stranger shoved the folded document into her hands. The real council list. Memory. Elara stared. What does that mean? The hooded figure looked terrified. Not of her. Of what was coming. You were never supposed to find it. The footsteps grew louder.
Branches snapping.
Voices approaching. The stranger backed away. Desperate. Then, the hood came down.
Slowly. Completely.
No shadows. No darkness. No blur. Nothing hiding the face. This time the memory held. This time it stayed. Elara saw the eyes. The scar. The expression. The truth. And suddenly, everything connected. The warning. The watchtower. The journal pages. The secret meetings. The hidden messages. Everything. Because the person standing before her wasn't Vanessa. Wasn't an enemy. Wasn't a rival. Wasn't someone she'd spent weeks suspecting. It was someone else. Someone the audience would never expect. The memory shattered. Not because it was stolen. Because Elara no longer needed it. The truth remained. The face remained. The answer remained. Her eyes snapped open. The cabin returned. The storm returned. The scattered pages returned. But this time, the memory stayed. Elara slowly rose to her feet. Her breathing uneven. Her pulse racing.
She knew.
Finally, after all the missing memories, after all the lies, after all the warnings, she finally knew. A knock echoed through the cabin. 3 sharp knocks. Not slow, not patient, urgent. Elara didn't move. The knock came again.
Bang, bang, bang.
Then a familiar voice shouted from outside. Elara. Ronan. She immediately crossed the room. Opened the damaged door. Ronan stood in the rain.
Soaked.
Breathing hard. Like he'd run the entire way. The moment he saw her face, he stopped. Because something had changed. Elara wasn't confused anymore. She wasn't searching.
She wasn't guessing.
She knew. Ronan saw it instantly. What happened? Elara stared at him. For several seconds, she couldn't speak. The truth felt too heavy. Too dangerous. Too impossible. Finally, Ronan stepped forward. Elara. His voice lowered. What did you remember? The rain poured around them. Thunder rolled overhead. The entire story seemed to pause. Waiting. Holding its breath. Elara looked directly into his eyes. Then whispered. I know who is in the tower. Ronan froze. The words hit him immediately. His pulse accelerated. Who? Silence. A long silence. The longest silence in the story. Then Elara answered. 3 words. 3 impossible words. 3 words that changed everything. It was Mara, the missing servant, the witness. The woman everyone believed had vanished before she could speak. The woman everyone assumed had been silenced. The woman everyone thought was a victim. Not Vanessa. Not an elder. Not a rival. Mara. Ronan stared. Unable to speak. Unable to process it. Because suddenly every assumption they had made collapsed. Every theory. Every accusation. Every suspicion.
Gone.
And if Mara had been the hooded figure, then the biggest mystery wasn't who warned Elara. The biggest mystery was far worse. Why was Mara helping her? And where was she now? The storm raged around them. The truth had finally surfaced. But instead of providing answers, it created an even larger question. Who was Mara really? The storm seemed to grow louder after Elara spoke Mara's name. Rain hammered the roof. Thunder rolled across the valley. Yet neither Elara nor Ronan moved. Neither spoke. Because the revelation had shattered everything. Mara, the servant, the missing witness, the hooded figure, the warning. It didn't make sense. And that was exactly why it frightened them. Ronan stepped into the cabin, his clothes soaked from the rain, his expression unreadable. Mara? The question sounded absurd even as he said it. Elara nodded. I saw her. You remembered? Everything. Not everything, but enough. Enough to know the face. Enough to know the voice. Enough to know the truth. Or at least part of it. Ronan ran a hand through his wet hair. His mind raced. Mara was a servant.
No.
Elara's answer came immediately.
Too quickly.
Too confidently. Ronan looked up. Elara stared at the journal pages spread across the floor, then slowly shook her head.
No.
Her voice lowered. That's what she wanted everyone to believe. Silence. The implications settled heavily between them. The fire crackled softly. Outside, lightning illuminated the forest. And suddenly, another memory surfaced. Not a fragment. Not a glimpse. A complete memory. The final piece. The missing conversation. The one that had always ended too soon. The one that had always been taken. Elara froze. Her eyes widened. Ronan immediately noticed. What? She didn't answer. Because she wasn't in the cabin anymore.
Rain.
The watchtower. Mara standing beneath the archway. No hood now. No disguise. No hidden face. Just Mara. Looking older somehow. More tired. More frightened. The servant mask was gone. The real person remained. Memory Elara stared at her. You've been lying to everyone. Mara laughed sadly. You have no idea. The footsteps echoed through the forest. Closer. Closer.
Someone was searching for them.
Mara looked terrified. For the first time, truly terrified. Memory Elara stepped closer. Who are they? Mara's eyes filled with something unexpected. Regret. Deep regret. The kind that never leaves. The kind that follows people for years. Then Mara spoke. Quietly. Almost too quietly to hear. You were never supposed to find the list. Memory Elara held up the folded document. The real council list? Mara nodded. Rain streamed down her face. It contains every name. Every name. The words echoed. Memory Elara frowned. What names? Mara looked toward the forest. Toward the approaching footsteps. Then back at her. And finally said the truth. The real council. Silence. Thunder.
Rain.
Everything seemed to stop. Because the council everyone knew wasn't the real council.
It was a mask.
A cover. A front. The real power operated somewhere else. Hidden. Watching. Controlling. Erasing. Memory Elara stepped backward.
No.
Mara nodded sadly. Yes. The fear in her eyes deepened. Because she knew what came next. She knew what happened to people who learned too much. Like Mara. Like Elara. Then Mara grabbed both of Elara's shoulders.
Hard. Desperate.
Her voice trembling. Her eyes pleading. And she spoke the final words. The words stolen from Elara's memory. The words someone had worked desperately to erase. The words that explained everything. If they discover what we did. Mara's voice cracked. Neither of us survives. The memory ended. Elara staggered backward.